Welcome to Load the Box, Minnesota Twins edition. The Twins are in the ALDS, baby. It was a blast being at Target Field last night for the big second game victory over Toronto. It was interesting to hear what Kirk Cousins had to say about being at the game. He went to the game on Tuesday, the first game, and was just talking about how clear it is that the Minnesota fan base is dying for something to get behind and something to cheer for, and obviously that applies to the team that he plays for. So you'd love to see that positive energy that the Twins are getting from their fan base, and just the run they're making now in the playoffs to osmosis over across town. So they're going to need it. This week's a big one. It's you don't need much introduction for the reigning champs coming into town. It'll be Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, Patrick Mahomes, and the whole gang. So I don't know, Justin. Where do you, Justin? I think you must be Justin Jefferson with me, Jordan Addison. Where do you see to be maybe like the first key to victory for the Vikings on either side of the ball?
I'm gonna do something unprecedented in Load the Box history tonight. I am saying firm whip. Not my score prediction, but my game ball, because the key matchup is the obvious one. It's the low-hanging fruit. So, because game balls kind of imply, like, hey, if we win, this will be why, it has to be Dalton, Risner, or Ed Ingram. It has to be the weakest link of our line either being replaced by Dalton Risner and him having a really good first game as a Minnesota Viking. Oh, I truly think Ed Ingram is stouting on Sunday. I don't think he's going to be taken out unless there's injury, which I don't wish upon anybody. Oh, he just has a game that is so egregious, like maybe Chicago next week just tears him apart, and they're like, okay, we've seen enough. And then they finally bench him whenever it's too late. But if Ingram does get the stout, we're going to need to see him have a career day. We're going to need to see him be on his A++ game, best game of his career, because he's going up against, for my money, at this moment, the best defensive tackle in the National Football League, which is crazy to say about someone that's like, how old is Chris Jones? Like 32 or something? Or 31? He's in his 30s.
He's not super young anymore.
Yeah, so I'm throwing out the game ball early. I know that it's unprecedented, but that is my key matchup. You can't let Chris Jones come in, and if Taylor Swift is here, obviously that's going to get attention, and it's Pat Mahomes, and it's Travis Kelce, and, Rashee Rice for, you deep fantasy league owners like me that have him stashed away because depth is an issue in bigger leagues. It's going to be, all of the attention is going to be on that. Chris Jones. He is what will win the Chiefs this game. The defense is really good right now. I don't know. It happened kind of last season late. They had a really young defense. Now it's got a year under its belt. It has Chris Jones back. It seems to be healthy. This defense is good. Chris Jones can absolutely wreck your day. It's difficult to come up with a spicy take about Chris Jones. I mean, like, he's probably a Hall of Fame defensive tackle. Like, what do you want,
Yeah, there might be the casual Vikings fan who's not familiar with him, just because he's in the AFC, and the Vikings play the Chiefs every 4 years. But you will become acquainted with him very quickly. If you watch the Super Bowl either last year or really any of the last 5 years, you would have seen him 3 times. He wrecks games. He is large, but he is also a elite pass rusher from the defensive tackle position. And he's going to hunt mismatches, whether that is with Ed Ingram or Ezra Cleveland or Garrett Bradbury or all 3 at once. Like, he is going to make life very difficult for the Vikings offensive line. And I mean, the joke that I made the other day is the Vikings' key to victory is blocking Chris Jones with less than 3 people, because they're going to need to block other people, and he is a load. So it's not often that you feel like you need to scheme your entire game around one player on the opposition's defense, but that's really where this is. I mean, the Chiefs have a good defense, but a lot of it is because of 95. So they're going to have to know where he is at all times. and block him efficiently and cleanly with, like I said, less than 3 people.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else or any other like things about the Chiefs defense that you think is, important for the Vikings to take care of, and any matchups that they absolutely need to win?
Yeah, and I'm looking this up because I don't want to get this incorrect. And so I'm pretty sure that last season they drafted. Yes, okay, I'm correct. Last season the Chiefs drafted Trent McDuffie, who I believe at the time Jack was still on. If I have this right, like not this past draft, but 2 years ago now, I guess drafts.
Yeah.
And me and Jack were both really high on Trent McDuffie, even though he had like the bad omen of he didn't have long enough arms, and everyone that had arms as short as his was a flame out bust, didn't play more than like 5 years in the league, was never good. And we were high on McDuffie, and I think they got him in the second round, and he is currently the second rated defensive back on PFF's entire website. Last week I believe he was 1 before Zach Wilson oddly lit them up. So, you look at the defense overall, and it was a big thing last season where people were saying the Chiefs' defense is just young. It had like 3, 4, 5, I think, starting rookies. And so early in the season, it looked pretty rough, and there were guys missing assignments, and there were teams that could really move the ball on them, and it was kind of same old Chiefs, really good offense. They have to win shootouts. And then once they hit like the postseason, they kind of started like forcing turnovers and playing fast, and the pass rush would make guys make bad decisions, and then they let their young defense just play fast and loose, and it worked out really well. And you look at their defense this season, it's been good. Like the defense, I would argue, has actually been what has gotten them to 3-1, more so than Patrick Mahomes and the elite offense. Because all the offense had to do, the one game that sticks out is obviously the Chicago game. And being a Viking show, we should point out that they beat the Bears, 50-7 or something. Like it was something ridiculous.
I think it was 41-10 or something.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But at one point, I think it was like 41-0, and like, okay, 10 points to an NFL offense. I know it's Justin Fields and the Bears, but still 10 points to an NFL offense. That's insane. So the defense has been really, really good this season. It's been consistent. And I just kind of think you have to look. You go into this thinking about Pat Mahomes and Isaiah Pacheco and Travis Kelce, because those are the big names, and that's who Al Michaels salivates all over, on Sunday Night Football and all the primetime games. The defense is just as respectable as if we were going to play, I'm trying to think of teams like if we were playing Cleveland, everyone would be like, hey, this defense is really tough. The Chiefs are really good this year. They have the defense that is easily championship quality. They have an offense that's better. They're like the Eagles if the Eagles had like even better of an offense. They're just crazy. It's just crazy how good I think the Chiefs are this year.
Yeah, it is interesting. You mentioned like just how dynamic the Chiefs are in general and how scary of a team they are. And as I have the Thursday Night Football game on, I see that they're playing Denver next week on Thursday night, so that's going to be not very close. It is interesting though, because the sort of the narrative around the Chiefs has kind of been like, yeah, they're the Chiefs, but they're kind of sloppy. They're as vulnerable as ever, and they're very beatable, and all these things. And maybe they are. Maybe they are beatable this year, and maybe Patrick Mahomes is human. But this is kind of what Mahomes does every year. He has a few weeks where he kind of is off, and whether that's lack of focus or just, his game is not predicated on, like fundamentals necessarily. Like obviously he has to be fundamentally sound, but he's a playmaker. He plays off script, and so there's going to be games throughout his seasons where he gets a little bit off. His mechanics are off. He gets a little too greedy. Like in that Jets game on Sunday, he made a couple just egregious throws where it's like, he's trying to be too cute. He's trying to feather the ball in between 3 defenders, because he can, but it ends up being intercepted. So, some mistakes by Mahomes. He's already got 4 interceptions in 4 weeks. The Chiefs actually have 8 turnovers, which almost rivals the Vikings in their 11 turnovers. So, that paired with just like the inconsistency that Mahomes has played with. And we need to say it's not even so much Mahomes, it's who he's throwing the ball to. His options week 1 were not great. So it's really, yes, you could say like, okay, maybe this is the year to play the Chiefs, but they are still the defending champs. They still have clearly the best quarterback and tight end in the league, probably the most dangerous receiving combo between those guys. And like you said, their defense is as good as it has been maybe ever in the Mahomes era. So it's still a very scary team. There's no way that you can look at this game and say, oh, the Vikings, have an advantage because they're at home and they're playing a weaker Chiefs team. It's still the Chiefs. It's still Andy Reid. I would expect nothing less than an absolute. You have to play to the fullest of your ability if you're going to have a chance in this game.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything that you're saying. This is where I get held up because, okay, yeah, the Chiefs have looked shaky to start off the season, right? And the Chiefs have, looked beatable. Let's go with that. A 3-point victory over the Jets is definitely like prime. Oh, okay, so like anybody can beat them. And I want to point out, historically, they typically lose to a team that they should definitely not lose to early in the season. The last 2 years, it's been the Colts. They have lost to the Indianapolis Colts with like Phil Rivers and Matty Ice chucking the ball for them. And it's mainly just been Jonathan Taylor kind of ground and pounding. But maybe the Vikings can be that team where it's like, hey, they shouldn't lose to the Vikings. Oh, shoot, they lost to the Vikings. And for the Vikings, it means everything. To the Chiefs, it's like, okay, well, 3-2, we still get to play Denver twice, and we still get to play Vegas twice, and, we have our games with the Chargers that they always seem to win. They're going to be fine, and they're not really going to, it's going to be a minor speed bump in their season map. But I just want to point out the reason, like, they've played such good defenses, in my opinion. They've played the Jets, who obviously, everybody was hyping up that defense as, because it's a good defense. It's got Sauce Gardner. He's like the superstar on the defense, but they've got guys all over that defense. There's a reason that Aaron Rodgers went there and people started saying like there were whispers of Super Bowls in Absolutely. New York. In week 1, they played Detroit, who Detroit's defense was abysmal for half of last season, got kind of good for the second half of last season, and did the impossible. They carried over the momentum by signing free agents and drafting defensive guys to fix the defense, and it seems like it's fixed. They've had a couple of hiccups, but their defense seems to be pretty good. So obviously Mahomes is having his early season hiccups. They've played some good defenses that have obviously inflated the turnovers and made the early season hiccups appear to be a little bit bigger than what you would think. But overall, I don't like the way the Vikings defense lines up with the Chiefs defense because our best linebacker is undersized. We're probably going to have Metellus with a bad shoulder on Kelsey all game. And also, when you play elite quarterbacks, see what Justin Herbert did to us. He's going to fix the protection at the line. He's going to pick up the blitz. And then he's going to have single coverage with basically whoever he wants. And whether it's Valdez-Scantling getting loose down the field, whether it's Sky Moe on a slant, whether it's Travis Kelce doing literally anything, I just don't love the matchup because I think the Vikings are going to bring heat. Now, maybe Brian Flores surprises me. We run more of like a rush 3, drop 8, and we really just throw Pat Mahomes through a loop. But I wouldn't count on it. I would not count on Pat Mahomes being thrown through a loop, which leads me into this. Feels like I just said this a couple weeks ago. Cousins, I need you. I need you more than ever. That meme, and I need you more tonight. I need Cousins on Sunday at 3:30 because Tony Romo's going to be watching. Everyone's going to be salivating about how good Pat Mahomes is because he is very, very good. I need Kirk Cousins to come in and match Pat Mahomes, which is a crazy thing to say, but Here comes my one cuss word per show. Damn it, Will. I think Kirk Cousins can come in and throw just as many yards and touchdowns as Pat Mahomes does. He is playing out of his mind. He obviously just had a bad game against Carolina, so let's fix that. Let's dot the I's, cross the T's. Let's have ourselves a day, Kirko. Do you think Kirk's capable of coming in with Jefferson and Addison and KJ and Hawkinson? He's got all the weapons in the world. Can he outduel Pat Mahomes in a matchup?
I think absolutely. Not because I'm going to sit here and say that Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes, because that's ridiculous to even think about. But it's the weapons, it's the attention to detail, it's the fact that Kirk hates losing, and he has lost 3 games and had 1 terrible one. So you add that up, he's going to be a very angry Kirk on Sunday, and angry Kirk is the best Kirk. I also think he takes it very seriously to play well at home and to, give the fans something to cheer about. I also just think that the offense is going to be dialed in with knowing how sort of mediocre they performed as a whole last week, and how they have to get right, and they can't rely on their defense to win them this game. So I think you mentioned it on the Monday show. Like, you expect the offense to be a lot more efficient and just be consistent and move the ball and score points. And I think that's definitely going to be the case. So I mean, I think that's almost like, it's where they have to start. And I think Cousins is definitely capable of keeping pace in that regard.
Yeah, and
No pun intended.
Yeah, we're gonna need. I mean, we really are. Like, you're going up against the Chiefs, and if it feels like I'm stressing this matchup, and I'm pointing out how good the Chiefs are, it's because they've won 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, and they've been to 3 in the last 4 or 5. The Chiefs are a very good team. They are very well coached. The Vikings definitely have their plate full. Justin Jefferson is going to try to keep doing Justin Jefferson things. There are going to be Bears fans on Twitter tonight saying that DJ Moore is the best receiver in the division because he's currently going off on Thursday Night Football. We're barely into the second quarter. He's got 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I have him starting in my fantasy league, and I'm very happy about it. Justin Fields is on the bench in one of my other fantasy leagues. We'll see. But, yeah, man, I don't know what else to talk about with the Chiefs. They're very good. The Vikings are going to have to play very good. Do you want to do score predictions?
I mean, I've got a couple things that I think I just want to touch on when it comes to sort of keys to victory, and I'll lead that into my score prediction.
Right.
So I think the few things that I think need to be pointed out when it comes to the Vikings defense when they're on the field. Tackling Isaiah Pacheco the first time is going to be very important. He runs violently. I think that's probably the best way to describe him. He's just kind of like the Tasmanian devil. He's very quick. He's very fast. He's very physical, and he's very hard to bring down. And he finishes every run. It's almost like Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison melded into one. The speed, the quickness, the agility, but then also the power. So he's a very underrated back in this league. I think he can break you out of the backfield, running and catching. So he's going to be tough. I also think it's very important to make somebody other than Travis Kelce beat you when it comes to the passing game. We all know what Kelce can do. We all know his ability to play off script with Mahomes. You have to make Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and Rashee Rice and who else? Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Some of those guys beat you, because if it's 87-15, it's going to be a long day. And to that point, the game ball that I'm going to give if the Vikings are able to win this, it's just the linebackers. I would say that if I have to pick one, it's Ivan Pace, just because I think he's up for the moment, and this game is going to require a linebacker or linebackers or safeties to cover Travis Kelce, but also, and almost more importantly, to have a spy or something on Mahomes and keep him at home, because what Mahomes likes to do is, if his first few reads aren't there, he will then scramble and let his receivers do the scramble drill. And they are so good at it. It's like Aaron Rodgers, but just better because Mahomes is more athletic. So he'll get out of the pocket, he'll run around, he'll make your defense panic, and then he'll find somebody for a 15-yard gain. So those are the things that I think are very important. You need to set the edge, keep him in the pocket, and I think Ivan Pace has the ability and might have the assignment to do some of that, to sort of stay home, keep Mahomes in the pocket. I also think we're going to see a lot of Brian Asamoah. I think he's going to have to play in this game because of his quickness, his speed. This is again a quarterback that you have to sort of match his speed with the linebackers, and I don't think Asamoah is going to start or anything like that, but I think we're going to see him on the field more than we have for the first 4 games. And so I'll give my game ball to Ivan Pace. I think the game is going to be close. I honestly think the Vikings will have a chance to win this game. I don't think we're going to be looking at a Chiefs bludgeoning like Dallas last year or something like that, where one of these juggernauts come in and just blow the doors off the Vikings. But I think the Chiefs will win 33-31. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be highly competitive. I just think when it comes down to it and Patrick Mahomes needs to make a play, he makes a play. However, if the Vikings are to win, like I said, it's got to be a lot of that defense keeping him in the pocket. I think one thing that really worries me about this game, and why ultimately, frankly, as I was doing this, my predictions and my prep for this show, I was starting to lean Vikings, even though preseason, when we did our game by game predictions, I had Chiefs kind of every time. But as I did sort of the, measuring up with stats and who they've played and all these things, I was starting to lean Vikings, also because I was mentioning they're not going to go 0-4 at home to start their season. I just can't see that happening. So you got to either beat Kansas City or you got to beat San Francisco. But where I ended up landing on this was the Vikings have allowed 111 passer rating this season. And that's just a recipe for disaster against Patrick Mahomes. That, and also the fact that, like you said, Mahomes is not going to be afraid to take the underneath throws. He's not going to be afraid to just throw it quick to Sky Moore. And frankly, I think we think of the Chiefs as down the field, big shots, but that was 2-3 years ago with Tyreek Hill. They're not so much that team that just chucks the ball down the field anymore, because really the only deep threat they have now is MVS, and he's okay. He's 3rd or 4th receiver on the team. He's fine, but he's not, somebody who's going to continue to blow your socks off. And so they're a team that likes to throw underneath. They take the 7 to 12 yard gains and they just kind of bludgeon you to death with that. And that's what the Chargers did to the Vikings, and it's what a lot of these teams have done to them with their passing attack. So that's what worries me. That's where I see this game sort of being won, is their quarterback against our, frankly, mediocre passing defense.
What did you say the final was again?
33-31.
33 to 31. By the way, just a quick update. I was off by 11 points last week, predicting the Vikings to lose by 3, and you were off by 7, but in a better way, because you at least predicted the win, whereas I predicted a loss. Mm-hmm. You predicted they would win by 15. Of course, the Vikings ended up winning by 8. Also, last week, keeping ourselves accountable a little bit here, I predicted Danielle Hunter. You predicted Cam Akers. I don't think either of us were right. It was definitely Marcus Davenport and Harrison Smith. Take your pick. And on the offense, Jefferson, I guess?
Had to be Jefferson.
Had to be Jefferson.
Madison was pretty good. The running game was decent. The Vikings
Yeah.
only ran 44 offensive plays. It was a weird game.
It was
So,
not.
like,
I think the best play the Vikings offense made was Carolina's 99-yard pick six. And it wasn't good for the Vikings. It was just good for like people watching the game. They were like, "Oh, that was an exciting play." But I think it just has to default. When in doubt, give the game ball to Jefferson. Just like when in doubt on Sunday, just throw it to Jefferson and hope and cross your fingers, Coke.
have you
Yeah,
noticed that some of the media like literally ask like Kirk that, like in their
yes.
like weekly press conferences, they're like, "So, how often do you want to just throw it to him
Yeah.
and not really care about anybody else?" And of course, that's like not how Kirk Cousins operates. So you can tell he's kind of like, "Well, I go through my progressions."
I
But
loved his response. He had a press conference. I think it was Tuesday. Well, or maybe it wasn't Tuesday. Maybe I can't remember when it was. It doesn't matter. They asked him something along the lines of like, does throwing to Jefferson in a low percentage look just automatically make it a high percentage look? And Cousins said something along the lines of like, I don't want to throw the ball to anyone if I don't think they're gonna catch it. But I do know that I can get away with a little bit more throwing it to 18 because he's so good. But if all I'm getting is low percentage throws to Justin Jefferson, something's wrong with the offense because he should be, and he gave Kevin O'Connell, some props. He's like, yeah, like if I'm not getting good looks for JJ, Kevin will switch up what he's calling to get JJ good looks because you just got to, like, JJ's going to get open. You just have to call the right type of play and the right type of thing, and it goes, there's a bunch of stuff that gets into that. I already kind of gave it away. My game ball was going to Dalton Risner or Ed Ingram, whoever ends up getting the stout at right guard. I'd be shocked if Ezra Cleveland got benched and Ingram and Risner both played. That would be odd to me, considering I think not Ingram. Ingram's been playing bad. I think Cleveland has been playing pretty solid this year. I disagree. I had this thought last season. I disagree with your close loss narrative. I had this feeling last year going up against Dallas, where I was like, yeah, Dallas is good. The Vikings are good. We play in one-score games. We'll be in it to the end. I'm going to say we beat them by a possession because that's kind of what the Vikings did last season. We got stomped. We just holy cow, that was a butt whooping in Minnesota in your house, and it really just kind of felt like the Vikings were frauds after watching that game. And while they probably not, no, I mean, yeah, they probably should have lost a couple of those one-score games, but they still should have won the division and been in the playoffs, and, it is what it is. I think the Vikings are getting beat just to add to the trauma that has been this season. We're losing 38-7. We're getting full Philadelphia'd in our house. I'm going to go with the big loss. I hate to be negative, but I'm going with a 31-point loss. This is also my Hail Mary shot to get back in the score prediction game because it's a blowout right now, folks. Will is up. I think he's up like 30-something points at this point, or 49 points. It's bad. So this is kind of my Hail Mary.
I think it's because I tend to be like pretty, like I kind of live in the middle. I'm kind of like mild tempered when it comes to these types of predictions, and like my mood swings when it comes to this are pretty low. But you are just like full on. It's either like highlight heaven or it's doomsday. There's really
my score predictions this year haven't been that bad. I've predicted a 17-point win, which you predicted a 10-point win. So like, okay, that was, we both predicted Tampa, and then I said a 3-point win. I said an 11-point win. That is probably where it really got me. But you predicted, I think, a 4-point win that week. Like we haven't been that far off, and now I'm just picking. I've picked most games to be 1 to 2 possessions, but I've just been on the wrong side week after week after week, and picking a 3-point loss when the Vikings won by 11, won by 8, and you pick. It's just. I'm just getting some bad bounces, but I can't keep, like the Vikings, I can't keep getting bad bounces forever. The ball's going to bounce my way a couple times, and I'm going to start winning some of these one-score games. This week, I'm saying the Vikings are getting blown out. I already said 38-7. I'm not sold that it means the season's over. If they get beat that bad, then yeah, it's probably time to like punt on this season and start talking about the draft and enjoy some college football, folks, because you might be watching the next Vikings superstar. But I just think that I said this last week, I have this feeling, and I've felt this feeling before, and this is my feeling of it's time to show the world what we're made of. And then we got stomped. And so I had the same feeling against Green Bay last year, too. I was like, let's do it, boys. Let's go show Jair Alexander who the boss is. And then he was goodying all over the field, and they blew us out. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs getting a big win. Maybe it gets me back into the score prediction standings here with you. I hope I'm wrong. I say that every time I'm negative. I want to be wrong. I want the Vikings to win 1,000,000-0 and to make Patrick Mahomes go into retirement after the game because we traumatized him so bad because we sacked him 25 times in a game or something. But I just don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, give me the Chiefs in this one big. I'm going to quickly give my final thoughts, and then I'll let you get us out of here. My final thoughts are going to be very quick and concise. Make sure you shop Unified and follow the show on Twitter at LTB Vikings. Make sure you're subscribed both on YouTube and on your favorite podcasting app, whether it's Google Podcasts or YouTube, which also does podcasts now, or YouTube Music. It does a bunch of weird ones, Apple and Spotify, obviously. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. I think I already said that. And follow this guy. That's the one I was forgetting. Follow this guy at Will Bad Lose. Check out the Bad Loser blog. My final thoughts tonight. A little different. A brief congratulations to the Twins fans that are watching in the Load the Box audience. I've said it if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I am a Vikings fan from Cincinnati, so I'm a Reds fan and a Columbus Blue Jackets fan, and so during the Vikings offseason, I don't really get on Twitter much, and if I do, I don't really post about the same kind of things other people are posting about. I'm very Viking-centered on Twitter, on the show's Twitter, because that's what it has to be, because I don't follow the Wild and I don't follow the Twins and, the T-Wolves and all that kind of stuff. But I pull for you guys because I think that, the Vikings could use a little championship rub from another, city, or from another team in the city. And so congrats to the Twins. I'm in the middle of a playoff drought, just not even going in 11 years right now as a Reds fan. And a championship drought of older than me, 30-something years, 32 years or something since we've won a championship. So it's been a minute since I've tasted success. The Blue Jackets always suck. So drink it in. You won a playoff series after not winning a game in 20 years, whatever it was. Congratulations to you guys. I'm excited. I'm pulling for you. And I'm sure you guys are going to... I'm not going to say I'm sure, because that's a jinx, and I'm not trying to be the guy who jinxes the Twins. But... I'm rooting for you guys to have a deep playoff run and maybe do the damn thing this season. 2 cuss words on this show for Jordan Hawthorne tonight. My mother would be so proud. That's all I got. I'll pass it over to Will. Will, take us on out.
I mean, that would be awesome if you truly were able to not jinx the Twins into the World Series. That would be wonderful. My final thoughts, also non-Vikings related, because I think everybody in the universe is picking the Vikings to lose to the Chiefs on Sunday. Biggest boon of my day, my son tonight. I'm reading stories with him at bedtime, and we're reading the little Disney story about Hercules. He points at Hercules in the book and says, "Dada." Therefore, I am Hercules. I am a demigod. So that put me on Mount Olympus, and I'm feeling great.
That's such a good story.
That's where I'm at. I'm riding high right now. So this was fun. Watch the Vikings and the Chiefs on Sunday. It's a 3:30 start, 3:25, somewhere in there. Cheer on the Twins in the playoffs, and skol, y'all.
Oh no, I lost my mouse.